This is the Twin City News Around Town. A closer look at the people, places, and events around Batesburg-Leesville, Gilbert, and the Ridge. Presented by the Twin City News, Batesburg-Leesville's community journalism since 1925. Now, here's your editor of the Twin City News, Tony Bauman.
Welcome into this edition of TCN Around Town. I'm Tony Bauman, your editor of the Twin City News, and this is the Election 2019 edition. And in this edition, we visit with another candidate in the November 5th general election for Batesburg-Leesville Town Council. And we are joined on this edition by Bob Hall. Bob, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Tony.
It's a privilege to have you here. First of all, let's take about 2 minutes to introduce yourself to the readers of the Twin City News.
I'm Bob Hall. I'm a lifelong resident of Batesburg-Leesville. I was born here. I went to high school, graduated class of 1957 for you historians out there. Left to join the Air Force. 4 years, 9 months of military service was enough for me. So came back, went to work for Union Switch and Signal as a production manager, technician, few other jobs. Left there for Monroe Systems, held positions there for some 20 years, anywhere from production manager to the corporate materials manager. Traveled extensively. Actually, I missed my hometown. I came back, left Monroe, opened some businesses in Ridge Spring, retired 10 years ago. And now I'm looking to add back to the community.
All right, Bob. Well, let's jump right in. I'm asking all of our candidates basically the same 5 questions. And we'll start off. One of the most talked about issues of this past year or more has been the hospitality tax. 2 cents on every dollar spent on prepared food and beverages purchased from our Batesburg-Leesville merchants. Money that under state law must be spent on tourism-related projects. And just recently, Town Council allocates the first H-tax dollars, $48,500 for Christmas decorations, $80,000 for entrance signs, and another $5,000 budgeted to promote town events. I know you sat on the H-tax advisory committee. What do you believe is the best use of the hospitality tax revenue?
Actually, I believe that the best use for the hospitality tax would be twofold. One is to promote the community and do that aggressively. We have a perception. You may look at the latest edition of the Twin City News, and you get a negative perception of our community from some of the headlines, local murders, so forth. So we need to employ someone whose specific job is to promote the community. The second best use for it would be to improve the appearance of both of our business districts. In order to do that, not only do we have to expend funds, but we have to involve the local property owners in making decisions as to where that money would be best put to promote our community.
Economic opportunity is a hot topic for pretty much everybody anywhere, but especially here in Batesburg-Leesville, because we live here. Creating or attracting more better job opportunities, new investment by companies in a town, and even out at the industrial park, which has had one tenant for a long time, but 2 or more on the way now. What can Town Council do, in your estimation, to improve the climate for economic opportunity in Batesburg-Leesville?
The Town Council can take steps to hire someone whose specific job is the improvement of our industrial relationships in the community, to actively seek companies that will come here. Tony, I spent a part of my time with Monroe Systems in new plant development and so forth. We have a great deal to offer to industrial plants. At the same time, our general location, which is beyond our control, makes us a little less attractive than some of the industrial parks. So the council is going to have to work aggressively to find ways to entice new businesses.
Well, public safety is always a huge concern for the citizenry in any community. Batesburg-Leesville, a fairly good size geographic area with 2 very distinct downtown districts and smaller neighborhoods surrounding it. And recently, you mentioned it, there was a double murder in town, and earlier there was some indication of gang activity centered around a series of automobile break-ins. What can the town and town council do better to ensure public safety in Batesburg-Leesville?
Well, Tony, you have a situation here where we have a council, a manager form of government. Therefore, it is difficult for council to get directly involved in such things as police personnel. We can generate policies and follow up with oversight to see that our police department does the best to patrol and does community relations. We are having 2 additional school resource officers. Hopefully, the interaction of those officers with our younger generation will help us in preventing future crimes.
And most recently, the town council approved a memorandum of agreement to put a substation in the Leesville community in the Midlands Technical College campus.
That was approved, yes. There was some objection to that, but basically those objections were financial. I don't think that finance is the prime objective when you consider public safety.
Of course, one topic that's been on the drawing board here in Batesburg-Leesville for more than a decade, actually longer than that, water. Batesburg-Leesville has an aging water system. Residential, commercial growth, of course, creates a demand for water, and the town of Batesburg-Leesville has to be ready to meet that demand. And it was not too long ago that Saluda County Water and Sewer Authority opened up a state-of-the-art water treatment plant 12 miles up the road. Of course, you have Gilbert Summit Water up the road and Joint Water and Sewer Authority, other players in this game. What do you see as the future of water service in Batesburg-Leesville?
Actually, our water service, you say we have aging. Yes, it is aging to some extent, but we have excellent infrastructure. Our problem, as indicated by a consent order issued some in 2013, is that we have an inadequate raw water source. So therefore, we need to aggressively look for additional raw water. Some of the options out there would be to buy finished water from your new Saluda County Water and Sewer for one, Joint Lexington Municipal. However, if at all possible, I believe that we need to retain ownership of the entire system from raw water to the customer. In doing so, I still believe that there is a glimmer of hope for raw water from Lake Murray in some form. One of the options that I believe hasn't been exhausted is maybe the purchase of raw water from Saluda County Water and Sewer. But I believe that water is the new gold of the 2000s, and we need water not only for our current citizens, but to attract new citizens and new businesses.
And one last thing, anyone who attends, as I know you do, one of Town Council's monthly meetings is apt at any given time to see what might be called a lapse or two of order. At times, in my opinion, council meetings have gotten derailed a bit by sidebars and squabbles and extraneous conversation. Your thoughts on this?
Actually, I believe in true transparency between the government, administration, council, and our citizens. However, a certain level of decorum needs to be maintained in our meetings. We need to maintain focused but open opportunities for questions to be raised by both council members and, in some cases, citizens. I personally feel that we have a ways to go to ask some of our council members to exercise a certain amount of decorum and respect for other council members. And that will be on one of the items on my agenda.
Well, and now I would ask you to take 1 minute or so to offer some final thoughts to the voters of Batesburg-Leesville.
Actually, we have an excellent little community here. However, there is an age-old expression: you either have to grow or die. Don't take the dice literally, but we do have to grow, and one of the areas that we have failed to grow in is the number of citizens. That not only affects our town, but the community, and specifically our school district. So actually, my concentration will be on residential growth.
Bob Hall, one of your candidates for Batesburg-Leesville Town Council, and you'll have the opportunity to vote on those candidates in the November 5th election. Bob, thanks for coming in. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Tony.
All right. Appreciate it.
All right.
That will do it for this edition of Twin City News Around Town. Of course, look for our other interviews with other candidates coming up over the next couple days or so. And don't forget to go out again and vote on that November 5th for your members of Batesburg-Leesville Town Council. For the Twin City News, I'm your editor, Tony Ballman. Thank you for watching.
This has been the Twin City News Around Town. If you have a story idea for a future edition, call us at 803-532-6203 or email us at editor@twin-citynews.com. Thank you for listening and reading the Twin City News, Batesburg-Leesville's community journalism since 1925.